Welcome! I'm your host 270 and you've tuned in to Create to Mechanism. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Create to Mechanism. This episode is going to be quite interesting. If you've ever played with Mekanism before, you know, and this might be the make or break for some people with Mekanism, is when you start getting into all the chemicals and the items that are needed to make those chemicals and all the machines needed to make those chemicals. It's almost, I don't want to say it's Greg Tech like, because that's doing a disservice to just how complicated Greg Tech is, but it's very complicated. There's a lot of steps and there's a lot going on. Ooh, pretty sunrise. Squirrel. There's a lot going on with all the steps needed to create fissile fuel, basically, and that's the goal of this chapter. So what I've done is I've just kind of started laying out what we need here, but EMI is actually pretty cool and it'll let you do some resource trees. So here's our end goal. We want to make fissile fuel. If I open up the tree here, this is pretty boring, but you can hold shift and click on each node and that will open it up and that'll start breaking down each different step so you can kind of see where we need to be in order to get to our end goal of fissile fuel. So one down from fissile fuel, we need this machine right here, the chemical infuser, and we need to infuse hydrofluoric acid and uranium oxide. So now if I shift left click on one of those, it then tells me I need this machine with these ingredients. And so if I just shift click all the way down on all these ingredients, basically we get to the root, which is water and coal, essentially. I mean, if you look at it, water and coal up this side, and then just uranium over here on this side. And then down here, it tells us what we need. Oh, and fluorite, of course, up here. Yeah, that's right, fluorite right there. And this tells us what we need total to make just one, I think it's a bucket, just one batch, essentially, of fissile fuel. We need that. But here's the problem. There's a lot left over. Obviously, we're not going to waste that. So what you can do is up here, it tells you can press left button to get minimal leftovers. So now it increases our batch size to 9,000, which tells us we'd only need 9 uranium ingots. And then obviously water is basically unlimited, so that doesn't matter. And now we have a lot less leftovers. So if we just follow this tree, you could take a screenshot or just keep referring back here. So you can see it's cool when you hover over it. It actually shows you inside the machine what ingredients you need and then the outcome of it. This is where a lot of people get lost in Mekanism and where they're like, where people say they don't like Mekanism. Maybe it's too complicated or maybe it's just not fun anymore. I really enjoy this and maybe that's why I also enjoy Greg Tech, just because of the complication and there's a lot of steps. It's just so satisfying when you get a whole setup going and it actually works and you finally start producing the end goal, which for this chapter is going to be fissile fuel. So my plan is this is our kind of base machines and we'll still be using these. My plan is to set up in this corner over here. This is going to be, hopefully this is a big enough area, but this is going to be our fissile fuel production area. I got started with the basic tier installers, but I wanted to wait until we were recording so I could do this with you guys and just kind of show you. This is fun. So if we look, there's just one slot, right? It can only do one thing at a time. If I shift right click, now I used one of my cards and it turned it into a basic factory. So now if we look at it, I can do 3. And each tier of these installers adds more and more slots. But we can do auto sort. So now when a batch job comes in, let's say there's 3 items, instead of there being 3 here and each one waiting for it to finish, we can do them in parallel. So all 3 can be processing at the same time. And they all benefit from the same speed upgrades. So we basically can do 3 times as much processing now with just this basic installer. I'm going to go ahead and hit all these with the basic. Okay. So we have a lot of machines to make. Oh, and the digital miner. That's right. I almost forgot. I think we have everything we need to make this bad boy now. So let's go ahead and check that out. It looks like nothing's going to stall on us, which is good. All right. This is awesome. I'm not going to do a full tutorial on the digital miner, but this is a pretty sweet machine. Okay, I'm back over here at the package recipe encoder and pretty much all of these machines need to be done in the ultimate table. And I think I have all of them, but I just wanted to highlight just how insane this mod pack is. Normally these are, of course, the recipes are kind of crazy in normal Mekanism, but they're all done in a 3x3 grid. It would be something like this, right? This would be like the normal recipe for this. And then it's just funny. This mod pack is great. I love this mod pack, but holy crap, look at this. This is basically all just these Mekanism machines. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, some of these I don't have a recipe for tanks yet, or turbine rotors, or magmators. So I still have a lot of recipes to get going. I want to get all the recipe and the pattern encoding done preliminary. Obviously, you don't need to watch me do that. That's boring. Once I get that done, then we'll head back over to the Mekanism room and we'll start setting everything up. And that's when I'll bring you back in and show you how we'll get it set up. So after reviewing our tree some more, there's a few machines that are going to need oxygen. And we also will need hydrogen if we decide to do some more of the ore duplication or triplication, I should say, or just more of the ore multiplication besides duplication. Because of that, I'm going to set up, and I want these to be somewhat modular, as in it's easy to add to them. I want them stackable, I guess is the word. So what I'm going to do, I already have this row going here. My new machines are going to be over here. I want to leave some room over here for more of this sort of factory line. But yeah, right here is the center point. So I think just off to the right of this. So this is 32 channels coming off of this P2P. I have a new P2P 32 channels going that way. So that whole back wall will be separate. But I think since we're only using 13 off of this wall, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a, oh wait, what do we need here? We need water for this one. That's right. We need water to import into the machine, and then hydrogen and oxygen to export out of it. All right, we're now producing hydrogen and oxygen. I am not exporting them yet. It would be in this, I want to export out the bottom. I don't have anywhere to store it yet. So now is a good time to get into storage. I want to start partitioning some storage cells, some ME storage cells just for these. So what we're going to do is create a few, I'm going to create the patterns to get us some cells. We want a chemical cell, 256K. I haven't got into the mega yet. That's fine. I'll just do a 256. I'm going to get the stuff set up for that. We'll use a workbench and we'll partition it, and I'll show you how that works out once I get there. Okay, after like 12 years, the cell workbench finally finished. That was very intensive. I should have looked at the recipe for that. If we take a look, I just didn't think much about it, but I guess it was because of the super dense. The super dense energy cell requires 8 of the dense, and then each of the dense requires 8 of the energy, and then each of those requires a bunch of the dielectric, and it just took quite a while. There was just a lot to it, so it took a bit. So with this, what we're gonna do, we're gonna toss this in here. We're going to, I need some cards. So we want an equal distribution. We can also add an inverter or an overflow destruction. We should probably get an overflow destruction as well. Not a bad idea. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and toss in destruction and equal distribution. And then we can store up to 5 types in here. As long as I have the equal distribution and the overflow, we should be fine. But I do want to specify that I want hydrogen. Actually, what I can do is just say at Mekanism and scroll to the last page, and here's all of our chemicals. Hydrogen should be, and we don't want liquid in here. Okay, so chemical storage, this will be hydrogen, oxygen. We can store 3 more types. For now, this is fine, but I do want them equally distributed so that we will be using up the oxygen. The hydrogen for now will just be stored in here, so we don't want it to overflow with just oxygen or just hydrogen. So those are stored with it. And now if we stick this in here, we should be able to go back upstairs to Mechanism and go to the config on this guy. Go to our gases, clear it, and then in the bottom I want to output both. Oh, I can't do both. Interesting. Actually, okay. Here's what we're really gonna do. I don't know why I'm waffling about. Right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get ourselves an interface. Okay, we had to get ourselves a wrench. Okay, so put this back. Gases. The back will be output 2. The top will be output 1. The one thing that I didn't notice, I don't remember this before, but apparently you can only export one gas from each side. So this back right here, I can't do both. What I'm doing is I'm just pushing output 2, which is our, I believe that was the hydrogen, or maybe it's the oxygen, it doesn't matter. I'm pushing that straight into our interface, and then I have a mechanism pressurized tube that's exporting the other gas into the same interface. And actually what I should do is put it off to the side so I can stack these. All right, the reason I put it off the side here is then I can put another separator on top with another, actually I probably wouldn't even need another interface. Oh yeah, I would need another interface, but then I can stack these so that I can get more. I would have to bring up another cable to the side in order to import water. One thing I didn't do in preparation that I'm going to do real quick before I place any more machines is get all these cables and pipes ready to go, get some autocrafts going. I want to use those for the mechanism machines just because it seems fitting to have them instead of the pipes mod. And in all honesty, they look a bit better. The pipes mod looks fine, but they kind of look out of place, especially with mechanism machines. So I'm going to do that. Okay, our first order of business is the PRC. PRC. The pressurized reaction chamber. We're going to combine our newly acquired oxygen with some more water, and that will get, oh, and also coal, and that'll get us sulfur dust. So all of those water, oxygen, and coal will be in our ME, so we'll just export those into this machine. And then the export of that we will push into the chemical oxidizer. One thing I didn't mention last episode is if you look down here in the supported, if it's highlighted, that means it supports it. If it's grayed out, it doesn't support it. Some of these machines will support a gas upgrade, which will increase the efficiency of using gas. So you got to take a look at those. Even though this machine does use gas, it doesn't support that upgrade. So that's just something to keep an eye out on. We'll be getting not only sulfur, but also hydrogen. So we are doubling our hydrogen. We're getting it as a byproduct for the electrolytic separation and then also for the PRC sulfur dust creation. No big deal. We already have a card with overflow destruction on it, and hydrogen is on there. So we will just export it to there. We just need to grab these and we'll toss them in our drawer network here. They can go right there. So now they have somewhere to export to. Now we're making sulfur dust, which we will need to make sulfur dioxide, which is something we get by the chemical oxidizer just turns it straight into sulfur dioxide. So let's do that next. Now we're making sulfur dioxide. So it's being held in the interface. Now it's going to here. We're good there. And actually, I could just go ahead. I know, let's see, sulfur dioxide. The next gas is going to be sulfur trioxide. So we can go ahead and do that one and sulfuric acid. And that'll be all that this cell can hold. Now, once we get to those, they'll automatically have a place. So now it's the sulfur trioxide, which requires a chemical infuser. So we have our sulfur dioxide and our oxygen ready to go. 3.2 million FE. Oh boy. FE. We should probably make sure. Okay, yeah, we're not producing enough FE anymore. Okay. Yeah, I was afraid of that. So just an FYI, one thing I did look at before we got started was just how much FE we were producing, but I wasn't quite sure if it was enough. You can't really ever tell until you start making stuff. We're running thermo generators, so I just need to go make some more of these. Wanted to give a quick update on this down here. I didn't realize this. If looking at it, it's a little misleading, but if we look at the thermo generators, and we look at the heat sources. So you would think the heat source is the higher temperature, the better, which is why we go with the red matter, right? That's the highest heat source. But then for some reason, to me, the coolant, the higher the temperature, the worse, right? So I would think water would be the best coolant because it's the lowest temperature. But I decided to try out liquid sky solution, and it's way better than water. So with water, we're only getting a 300% increase, but with the liquid sky solution, we're getting a 900% increase. And now with the abstruse waste, we're getting a 1650% increase. I'd say it's probably best to just keep using abstruse waste. We should have a bunch of it. I mean, we don't have a crap ton, but we should have plenty. These don't use, they store 4 buckets each, but they don't really use it that fast. From what I remember with the water, when I put water in one, it lasted for quite a while before it ran out. So I don't think these are going to be much of a burden on our abstruse waste supply. So we should have quite a bit of power. According to this, we're putting 31 million per second into our, it looks about right. I'm storing a ton in our ME system. I think I finally settled on something I like. And also, I think I've finally got my power situation mostly figured out. It still drains more than it uses. Yeah, maybe I have not got the power situation figured out. What are these cables rated at? That's probably what the bottleneck is, huh? I wonder. Sometimes just talking things out loud, you figure it out. Let's try something here. And then we'll go like this. Maybe now we can keep up? Yeah, I think that's better. Because these are only rated at 500,000 each. So if we push 3 more, that's 1.5 million each. I don't know. Yeah. I think maybe that was our bottleneck. Let me actually do one more below. We'll push up into there, and then I carry these around so I can just upgrade them on the go. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so yeah, that fixed our FE issues, I think. We're okay on power now. So back to what I was saying. I think I'm settled on something I like. It's just a row here, and underneath each one is either, don't mind the cables. Basically under each one is an export if I need to export something like water, or in the case of this one, I need a block of coal with the water. This one's oxygen. So if the machine can export to the side and the next machine over uses the export, then I've done that. So they basically export from one machine to the next. There's a few where I had to export to the ME system and then import back into the machine. But then I'm just going down the row here. And then all of them, if they export out and go into our ME, then the import bus for the ME system's on the back. And then as you can see, the power's on the top, and all I did was just do an interface with an induction card right here, and then I just have the universal cable going along the top of each of them. I think this is the cleanest. I like this the most out of everything that I have tried. So this is what we're sticking with. Now I just need to continue down the line past the sulfuric acid. We still have to get, so we're right here. So we need to make yellow cake uranium, uranium oxide, hydrofluoric acid, combine those two to get uranium hexafluoride, and then we're at fissile fuel. So we're almost there. We're almost there. We should be able to finish the rest down the line here. And looking at P2P, we're only using 10 of the 32 channels from this P2P. So I think we'll be fine. The next chapter will need obviously more to get to the atomic age. Actually, we won't. I think I'm going to do the nuclear reactor quite a ways away from my base because I am very error prone, and last time I did them, I blew it up a few times and made everything radioactive, and I don't want to deal with that. So we're going to do it away from my main base, just to FYI, because I guarantee I'll forget something and it'll blow up. Maybe the mining dimension. Maybe we'll do it in there somewhere. I think that would be kind of cool. Anyways, I did forget to make the isotopic centrifuge, which is no bueno. Okay, I've tossed it in here, but noticing the recipe, this is a bit outrageous. So the lead blocks, that shouldn't be a problem. We're just gonna have to run down the list here. Okay, lead blocks, I should have enough of these, but I don't know. We'll see. Star infused. Oh, well, good. I already have a pattern for those. Apparently not the blocks, but that's okay. Unstable blocks. Oh, I already have a pattern for those. Sweet. Okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Absolute control circuit. I definitely do not have a recipe for those. I haven't made this radiance alloy yet. We're gonna have to do that as well. Ooh, this guy is axing us. What is this? So we need another infuser with radiance dust. Okay. And that takes atomic alloy. So this one, I'm gonna get rid of the radiance dust. Need to remember to throw that in a new infuser. But what is this? What is enriched radiance? How do we get that? By enriching radiance dust. Okay, well, we need that recipe. Now, how do we get radiance? Oh, in an osmium compressor, glowstone dust with uranium oxide. Okay. I don't have uranium oxide yet. How do I get that? Oh, okay. It is something that we are making, but I was just pushing it straight to the machine. I'm going to have to put that into our ME system, actually. So we can do that. That's not a big deal. Okay. We should be all right there. Let me throw these patterns in. Okay, so minus the isotropic whatever thingamajigger, this guy, minus the isotopic centrifuge, this is everything we need to make fissile fuel. I have it turned off right now because this right here uses uranium and this right here uses fluorite. Both of those are very expensive on EMC. It's 500,000 per uranium, and same with the fluorite. And the fluorite is, so that's 500,000, and I'm pushing in blocks, which is 9 of those. So as you can see, these are very expensive. So I went ahead and I just created a bunch of the hexa whatever. Can't see it there because it's all drained out. It's in the system. This right here. In the isotopic centrifuge, this will turn into fissile fuel. I have 4,000, almost 500 buckets saved up. Now, obviously, we're going to need this to just process indefinitely, so I'm going to have to leave this on. The reason I turned it off is, for one, I wanted to get the isotopic centrifuge made, and it's very expensive on EMC, so I needed to build up some EMC. And two, I don't want to run it in full steam just yet. I need to get my EMC production up even more than it already is, because to keep up with the fluorite demands and the uranium demands, I need a lot more EMC. Just real quick, what I did do though is in the mining dimension, I did chunk load that, so it's constantly chunk loaded. And then over here in our enriching, I have a export. I use the ME tag export bus, and so I'm just anything that has a tag of forge ores, I'm exporting into here. So as soon as it comes in from our miner, it gets turned into a dust. Now, mind you, this is only 2x duplication of our ores. Like I mentioned several times, we can go higher, 3, 4, 5x. I just haven't set that up yet. So for now, I want to at least get 2x out of our ores. And then in those ores, or those dusts that can be converted, I went ahead and did just a regular export dust or export bus, and then I listed the dusts that I want to turn into ores. The reason I didn't use one of these ME tag buses, which I did try it, was because it was also exporting sky dust, and sky dust is dumb. If we take a look at it, it doesn't have it only has the forge : dust. There's no way to blacklist it, so I couldn't say blacklist forge : sky dust. It doesn't work because it only has the one tag. So I just went ahead and just whitelisted, basically using the export bus, the dust that I do care about. And I think by looking in our ME system, I think I've got everything accounted for that we want to smelt down. The Sortis core type. No, yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good here. There's definitely a lot of coal, which is kind of nice because the coal just turns straight into EMC. It's not very expensive. You know, it's not giving us a lot of EMC, but hey, it's free EMC in a way. I did add some cards to the digital miner, so it's processing really fast. Now back to this guy. So we're ready to make the isotopic centrifuge, and I think I'm just gonna set it right in front here, just kind of showcase it. All it needs is a pipe from this machine right above my head into it, and then we'll just export straight from it into our ME network, and we'll hold the fissile fuel into our ME network. And I'm just going to build it up until we get into nuclear, which will be in the next chapter, but I do want to get a stockpile of it going now. So let's make that isotopic. We should finally have everything. It took a while for me to get enough EMC going. Yeah, this was very EMC heavy, to say the least. There's a lot of diamonds, a lot of quartz, a lot of, I don't even remember now. I can't think of it. It was a lot of stuff. And obviously, as you can see, it's taken quite a while to craft. These energy collectors are very dense on their own, and there's 135 of them. So, and 135 emerald furnaces. I mean, come on. This is like an end game item almost in a way, which makes sense. We're approaching end game. We're in the final stages. Once we have this bad boy, we can create nuclear factories, we can create a nuclear generator, and we can build some very serious power after this chapter. Well, will it be after this chapter? No, this is where we need the lithium to get to that stage, and then we'll be into, I think this is where we finally create the nuclear. Yeah, this will be a fun chapter. What is that one? 13? Yeah, 13 will be cool. I like the nuclear, even though I always blow stuff up. I always end up blowing something up. It's easy with redstone controls. I don't know why. I forget to set it, or I don't know. It's just me. It's going to happen here too. So anyways, I will stop talking and we'll just cut to this being done and in place, and then I'll meet you back there. It's taking forever. Oh, there it goes. Oh, snap. Finally. Hey. I said I was going to connect a pipe from this machine to the centrifuge. I forgot that the hexafluoride is in our system, so it makes more sense, obviously, to just have it coming from the ME. So on the bottom of it, or right here, I have an export bus that's exporting the hexafluoride into here. And then underneath it, there is an import bus that is importing the fissile fuel into our system. And so now we should have fissile fuel in our system. And there we have it. I'm going to just chew through all the hexa that we have, which is quite a bit stored up. Yep, I'm just going to let this run. And actually, I need to add cards to it. It'll run a lot quicker and quieter. About a bucket a second, I suppose. It's about the same as all of our other machines, it seems like. I did create quite a bit of hexafluoride before I ran out of EMC, so once my EMC builds up a little more, we may kick these machines back on. I basically just use this as a kill switch. All I have to do is add one of these induction cards back in, and all these machines will come back to life. Okay, before we close out the episode, it's a little harder to get the achievements because you can't really hold these buckets of things. But what I did figure out, and so now I'm going back through and doing, is you just gotta open the interface of the machine that's producing it. So like hydrofluoric acid, I think is right here. Yeah. So we just open the machine and we get the credit for it. So then the uranium hexafluoride would be right here. So then we get the credit for that. So that's how I'm doing that. And then over here, boom. Okay. And the end chapter. Please note that there's no spent nuclear waste in the pack. So you will reuse all nuclear waste really soon. Oh, that's good to know. It's a pain using those barrels to deal with the spent nuclear waste, so I'm glad to hear that. But that's the end of the chapter right there. Boom! This is the first chapter where we didn't have a mechanism and a machine at the end, so that's kind of exciting. This one was a test. Holy crap. This tested not only my EMC production, which, as you can see, has tanked again because I let this run for a while. It also tanked my FE, which, oh man, see? I have completely burned through all my stored FE. If we just real quick, I keep getting sidetracked going down and looking at my power setup. If we come down here and look at this, okay, now this is finally filled up, but the one that supplies all my gates, this was completely dry, and so I had to redo all the cables. I have just a quite an ugly mix of cables just to feed this with enough power to keep it going. Otherwise, the whatchamacallit over here, this guy would break free, which you would think I would have learned my lesson by now to put him on a separate power source, but I haven't. I'm glad I have him in a weatherproof box because I have not learned my lesson yet. So, anyhow, yeah, that's it. Well, once again, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you taking the time if you made it this far. Mechanism is just a beast. You know, there's a lot to it, and as you saw, there's just so many different ways you can do it. So if you see anything that I could have done more efficient, well, I know there's plenty of ways I could have been more efficient, but if you see something just blaring at you, please do let me know. Leave a comment. Let's talk about it. Also, feel free to let me know how your setup is, or if you're in the Discord, the Create to Mechanism Discord, do share some pictures. Let's look at how you set your mechanism chemical lineup, because this is where it really gets interesting, is the chemical stuff, and the nuclear stuff is where mechanism shines, to me at least. I love this part of mechanism. This is why it's one of my favorite mods. So I'm just excited to get further into this, and I'm excited to see what you guys also make. So if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you next time. Love you, bye.